Okay, welcome back to Fast Chip Forums there. My name's Tim Davies. Look, I thought we'd walk outside today and maybe just talk about wealth and what wealth means to me. I've been getting a lot of emails from guys within the military asking whether they should stay in or not, and it's a very personal decision. Of course, it does not only affect the individual but the entire family. So I thought we'd come out here to the fields around well, Herefordshire, really, West Herefordshire where I live, to the west of Cheltenham, and get outside in the sunshine, have a chat about it and see whether this is a better format for people as opposed to me being stuck in front of a computer, right? So, back in the day when I was in the military, the flight lieutenants who would have been earning at the time, flying with me in the flight school, around about mid-40s, maybe towards £50,000, the service wanted to know whether these guys were going to stay in. So they decided to offer them, or some of them anyway, a bonus of £20,000. And they would give them £20,000 if these guys promised that they stay in for another 5 years. That's what it was. Give you 20 grand, you give us 5 years. And on the surface, that looked a pretty good deal. But the thing about pilots, well, there's three things really about pilots. The first is, well, we're quite good at maths. The second thing is, we're quite lazy about doing things like maths. And the third thing, obviously, is that we're exceptionally good looking. And those three things can be a pretty bad combination. So I used to speak to these men, and they were mostly men, I think one or two are women. I used to speak to them in the airplane and say, have you done the maths on that? So when they give you this money, have you done the maths? What does it mean to have £20,000 over 5 years where you now can't leave the military if an opportunity came up, say in Saudi Arabia or the UAE, to go flying out there on big money, but you were tied into the military now because they've given you £20,000. The guys in the airplane when we're flying, we're on recovery back home, they would say, yeah, I've done the maths, Tim. Yeah, it works out all right, mate. 20 grand's going to be pretty good. And I'd be saying, but it's not 20 grand. You think it's 20,000, but it's not. And let me do the maths to you right now, guys, because I know you're interested. So let's say these guys are on £50,000. They're in the upper 8 tax bracket. So they're paying 40% tax on everything over a certain amount. I think it's everything over 40%. They're paying that. So let's just assume for the maths right now that they're in the 40% tax bracket here in the UK. Upper tax earners, that kind of thing. Now what the government does, because it's not stupid, it wants to get tax back on that money. So it doesn't split that £20,000 over 5 years to lower your tax burden. It gives you that 20 grand in year one. First year it gives you that 20,000. That means it puts you well into that tax bracket. You probably, anyway, you're going to pay 40% of that 20,000 straight back to the government. If you have issues with working out how much that is, take 10% and then multiply it by 4. So 10% of 20,000 is 2,000 times 4 is £8,000. Is your 40% that you need to give back to the government. Straight away, when you take this bonus, this flight lieutenant bonus, you give 8,000 of it straight back because it's given to you in year one. That's the problem. So 8,000 goes back to the government in tax. Now you're left with 12,000. But that £12,000, that's fine. You've got that money in your bank account. But when you work out how much you're actually getting per day, that 12,000, kind of split it over 5 years then. Again, if you're struggling with maths, 12 divided by 5 is a complicated sum. So let's say double both, 24 divided by 10. That's £2,400 that you're getting every year, technically, for staying on for 5 years in the military. £2,400 a year, divide that by 12, that's £200 a month. Divide that by 4 weeks in the month, that's £50 a week. And of course, divide that by 5 days that technically you're working, that's £10 a day. £10 a day is what you're getting to give the military 5 years of your life. When some of your boys are going to be instructing out in Saudi on £250,000 tax free. That's just the thing. That's why the bonus wasn't a great deal. Now I was in the bar one night with the lads and the lasses, obviously, because I'm having a few beers on a Friday night, and I heard one of the wives kind of put out a bit of a yelp and then storm out the bar. And she was chatting to another pilot, and that pilot was explaining to her why he hadn't taken the bonus. The problem is her husband had taken the bonus. Her husband said to her, look, we're going to get 20 grand. It's amazing. She's like, yeah, 20 grand. And when he explained to her the maths that I've just explained to you, you soon realize that it wasn't a great deal at all. Basically, he just committed them to the military for another 5 years for £10 a day. That's what I mean by wealth. It's not always what it seems. That money can tie you in. I get a lot of guys in my flight school right now who are tied into jobs, waiting until they hit 60, waiting until they hit 65. You know what? You start getting health problems, guys. Those guys still flying airplanes, late 40s, early 50s, you'll be surprised how many people are getting health issues at these ages. All right, it's the truth. It just does. Look back on my last couple of videos and you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, it's the truth. Better turn around in a minute. We're walking up to nowhere pretty soon. What's the view like here, guys? Oh, look at that. That's England Shire. That's what the England Shire is about. I hope the audio's okay. It's a bit windy out here. That is impressive, isn't it? That's impressive. We'll turn around in a minute. We'll walk back. I don't want to keep this video too long. So wealth then. Let's turn around now. Okay, cool. Hope that's a good view for you behind me here. Hope it's all right, guys. And if this is a good format and you like this one, then just head down to the comments and just go, yeah, Tim, this kind of works. I like going for a walk with you, Tim. I like having a walk. So Tim taking me for a walk kind of works out. And that'd be cool. I'll do more walks for you, all right? But wealth is important. One thing I realise, that's more important than money though when it comes to wealth. People think of wealth in terms of cash, don't they? How much money have I got in the bank? It seems that the more money you have, the easier it is to lose it or spend it on stuff that you really probably shouldn't, or it's not going to bring you any kind of value. I remember one of the guys, I think Chris Williamson on a podcast recently said that they did a thing about nightclubs when he ran events at nightclubs. He's got a pretty good channel and he was saying that the most happiness anyone felt at one of his events was the expectation of that event. That makes sense. The looking forward to going to that event. Actually at the event, it was an event. The same with buying a car. I do a lot of research. I was looking at buying an Alfa Romeo recently, Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, just to celebrate the exit of the internal combustion engine, of course. Probably not going to buy the car for many reasons. However, I did a lot of research. What colour stitching I'm going to have on the seats, all that kind of stuff. What's the colour of the car going to be? What extras I'm going to have? Love that stuff. I love doing all that stuff, by the way. I've got an Audi RS4 anyway, so I'm into my cars, you know what I mean? But I love that stuff. And that's great. I get motivated by that. And I knew I wasn't going to be motivated by having the car parked in my driveway. Just sort of sat there. I drive it occasionally. It wasn't what it's about. So for me, I think financial wealth means you've got to work less. That means it gives you more time. And one thing I'm really interested in at the moment is what we do with that time. Because you know what? When you get to 65, arguably, it's a lot harder to start a fitness plan or to start eating properly than it is when you're 45 or when you're 55. Now I'm 48 right now, and look, what is it now? It's a Friday afternoon. Here I am with you guys. I'm out walking. It's a beautiful day. I taught this morning for about an hour. I've got to teach again this evening for a couple of hours, and that's it. That's it. I might not be earning some massive money, but you know what? I get a lot of time. That's important to me. You're never going to get that back. And as you get older, guys, I'm talking to guys now in the military, as you get older, you realise that your best days aren't necessarily spent inside the military. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Hey, maybe they are, maybe they're not. I'm just saying there's a lot out here to do. And you can live where you want. I mean, I'll tell you now, it's just going to shine. This is where I live right now. This is about 5 minutes walk. I walked up here. It's about 5 minutes walk from my house, guys. Just to the west of Cheltenham. It's pretty special. That's why I moved here. And in fact, funny thing, there's an ex-Typhoon pilot lives over where I'm pointing over there. I could probably walk to his house in about 15 minutes. There's another guy, Tornado guy, lives over the back here. Walk to his house in probably about 10 minutes. And then my boss, great dude actually, a really nice guy, he lives down the road about 2 miles. So there's a load of guys from the military that move here. If you are in the military, you want to know where I live, just how to get hold of me, right? But for OPSEC, I don't want to tell you exactly where I live here, of course, don't get me wrong. But just think about that, guys. You might be earning the big money, but do you have the big time? Do you have that? Because stress is the biggest killer. I'm not even joking you. When I realized how stressed I was in the military and how that was affecting me on a health basis, I was always carrying some kind of bug, some illness, some cold, something. I was fine with it, of course, because you can't not. But it was always a massive issue. It's just constant. It kind of blends in, but it's always an issue. Out here, and I'll touch whatever wood I can find, but I haven't had those kind of illnesses since I left because I lowered my stress right down. Okay, fine. So I'm not in a high-powered job earning 200 grand a year. You know, I run my own business and I make what I make. But the truth is, can I pay a mortgage? Yeah, I can. Could I go and buy that Alfa Romeo tomorrow if I wanted to? Yeah, I could. I'd probably build a finance plan, to be fair. But yeah, I could buy that. Quite happily put it in the driveway. Do I want to? It's not going to make me happy. I tell you what does make me happy is being able to go to my gym in the morning, and I can spend 3 hours there if I want. 3 hours in the gym if I want to do that. To me, that's kind of crazy when you think about it, that you can actually go and do that and still run a business. You just have to prioritize your time in a different way. No one's telling me to be in the squadron at 7 in the morning. So I just thought I'd throw it out there and just try and give you some idea about how I see wealth. I see it as time. I don't necessarily see it as money. You know, hey, we're all different. Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. Maybe it is worth going out and working really hard until you're 60. I know the military is now looking at extending contracts until 60. You had to leave at 55 before. I left at 43. So let me know, is it worth, you know, burning yourself out, hoping that you've got something on the other side, or maybe leaving a bit early and going for walks in the countryside? I don't know. Hey, comments, guys. Really appreciate it, all right? Thanks for your attention. Tim Davies, Fast Ship Performance.